So let's have a look at how this works. Here's our router, and this router does include a physical button, but for demonstration purposes I'll be using the virtual button included in the web interface so you can see what I'm doing. So we go to this wireless setup section under basic wireless settings, and this may look a little bit different on some routers, but it's all pretty much the same. For example, on another router, the Netgear 3700, which we'll be discussing a little bit later, you simply click Add WPS Client and follow the little wizard provided. In the case of this D-Link router, there's a separate little Add Wireless Device with WPS Wizard. But for purposes of this demonstration, we're going to stick with the router we've been using. So this router gives us the option of either doing things manually or using Wi-Fi protected setup. All we have to do is simply click on this little radio button, and we're presented with a choice of either using a button or entering a PIN. If the wireless adapter we're using has a PIN, we could just simply type in that PIN in here and click register. That's not the case with the adapter we're using. With the adapter we're using, we need to use the software that comes with the adapter to access the WPS features. And it's just a simple matter of clicking on this button right here. And it gives us the option of push button or use adapter's PIN. And if we don't know what the PIN is, it will tell us what the PIN is. The easiest and more recommended way of doing things is to simply use the push button method, which we're going to do next. Now it's just a simple matter of following the instructions. I can either press on the button on the router, or I can click on this little virtual button in the web interface. I'm going to go ahead and click on the button on the router, and immediately it starts flashing a little green light right above the button. Then I'm going to click on this button here, and now it's just a matter of waiting for the two to open up a line of communications between each other, communicate and exchange the necessary information, such as the SSID, which is generated randomly, the type of encryption, which by default is WPA, WPA2, and come up with a mutually agreeable security key. Now this whole process usually takes about 2 minutes. Voila! We've successfully connected to a wireless network. Now don't get upset if this doesn't always work the first time you try it. Sometimes it takes a few tries, and eventually it works fine. If it doesn't, you may find yourself either resetting your router, meaning just simply unplugging it and replugging it back in, or you may find yourself resetting your network adapter, which involves simply unplugging it and plugging it back in. In our case, we got it right the first try, and we have a new SSID configured on our router, configured with the following, using the following security and this big, long, lovely passphrase or network key. Now in wireless security land, when it comes to network keys, the longer the better. And as you can see, this is using pretty much probably right around 64 characters. We would hate to have to type this in manually into a bunch of multiple computers, which is why WPS is so great. Now we have the option to print this out if we want to, but of course that would mean going around manually typing things, and we don't want to do that. So if we go to our wireless router and look in our wireless settings, we can see that whereas before this router had no security settings whatsoever, is now configured with an SSID, security, encryption, and a passphrase. So let's see how it works with a wireless adapter. So as we can see, that was a lot simpler than entering a bunch of details into our wireless router and wireless adapter.